Oh my god. Have you pissed in your underwear? You haven't talked about all the positive aspects of being 30, of which there are none. I have 5 friends. They're all your different moods.
When I was younger, I don't know why I did this, but I used to pee in the corner of like a carpeted room.
Hey, me too! When did you do it?
I think I was like 7, 8 years old.
Yes?
Yeah.
Keep talking.
9 years old. I have no idea why I would do it. I just remember, you know what else? I would pee inside. So you know how houses have heating vents on the floor, that the heating ducts that shoot air up?
Yes.
I may or may not have peed inside there at least one time.
I think I've done that as well. So for me, I remember when I did it, the peeing on the carpet. So I was in prep, so which is like the youngest grade for primary school, and then the teacher wouldn't let me go to the bathroom. I don't know, I can't remember for what reason. So like we were doing tasks, so I literally went into the corner and I just pissed on the carpet.
Oh, you did it at school. I did it at home.
So yeah,
you're such a rebel. You know what I just did?
What am I supposed to do? Pee my pants?
That's what I did.
Really?
Yeah. I was in grade 4, so I think I was like 10 or 9. I think I was 10, and then no, I was 9, and then I raised my hand. I'm like, "Can I go to the bathroom?" And they were like, "No, it's 5 minutes until lunchtime." And I just peed myself in the middle of the floor while we were sitting down, and I just looked at her, and she was like, "Okay, go to the nurse's office." Because I was young. Even I still peed my pants until I was like 10 years old. My bladder size, even now, is like tiniest thing.
But apparently, it's like part of it is bladder control. Like, remember when we first moved in together, we would both go to the toilet in the middle of the night, and then slowly we weaned off it. It was painful, but now we don't have to pee in the middle of the night. So I think part of it is training. Like, if you always teach I think we're so used to going just in case, because that's what our parents made us do as little kids, because you don't know whether.
But we did that because we kept peeing our pants. I was a bedwetter.
Oh.
I wet my bed literally for like 2 weeks straight, and they took me to the doctor, and they were like, pee before you go to bed, and then also pee in the middle, because my bladder is just so small. I couldn't hold it. And I always have dreams about going to toilet.
Yeah, true. Actually,
that's how you pee, right? You have a dream that you're like,
going to the toilet.
Oh, I need to pee. Oh, my dream's about going to the toilet. Then I'm like, wait a second.
Thankfully, you haven't done it since we've been together. Not that I'm aware of. Have you? Oh my god. Have you pissed in your underwear?
I plead the fifth.
So you have. Ew. Then do you change the bedsheet the next day?
I don't remember whether I have or have not.
This is mildly concerning.
I've done it with my ex.
As in you peed the whole bed?
Not the whole bed. Like a little bit. I don't think I've... Maybe with my ex. I don't remember. Why do you think I have the waterproof blanket?
Next time when you're older, I'm going to put a nappy on you before you go to bed. Like an adult nappy. Hey guys, if you're enjoying our content, the best way you can support us is by subscribing.
This helps us make better videos for all of you. Sounds useful.
Is it true? Do you find that as you've gotten older, your eggplant has gotten leakier after you go to the bathroom? You know how like old people stand there for a long time and then like they feel like they're not peeing anymore because you can't hear the tinkle, but then it's just like, dude, that man's been standing here for 5 minutes and I need to go.
Oh, wait.
Do you reckon? I feel like my eggplant has gotten leakier, like a little bit slowly. And I can see how as you age, it would get worse and worse.
That's a thing?
Yes, I think it is.
I don't, because I don't actively think about it, but I am pretty sure after I pee, I still stand there for 30 seconds being like, is this all? Is this all?
You don't have the sensation of needing to pee anymore, but you're like, if I put my underwear back on now, I could look like I pissed myself.
Oh. Are you sure that's because you're just 30 years old?
It's part of the aging.
You've reached the gap where you're now like ancient.
It's part of the aging.
It's part of the aging process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But have you found that it's gotten longer? Because I remember, I don't think... Probably. See, I'm not sure if I was a kid. When I was a kid, I just didn't care enough and I just pull my underpants off and then go off and play and you just don't realize. You just don't give a crap. then now you're a bit more conscious of it, maybe, or if it is
Yes.
actually a leaky thing.
There have been times where there's been a wet spot, like I guess in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's just like part of being a guy, and that just happens.
I don't know. From what but
Does
extrapolating
that
to
just
old
happen to
people, I
everyone?
feel like it would get worse and worse and worse.
Is that bladder control though? Oh.
Good question. I reckon it's bladder control, and I reckon it's the muscle, because bladder, to pee, it's a muscle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're releasing, it's either clenched or it's not clenched. I don't know how it works.
Yeah, something like that.
And then as you get older, it might become muscle, probably becomes weaker. That's my hypothesis.
Mm.
We should bring a doctor onto this show to discuss.
We have a lot of doctor friends.
Yes, we can. We should line up all our medical questions and then fire them all. And they'll probably fire them all at a doctor, and then they'll probably be like, I'm only a specialist in this field. I've got no idea.
We'll
That's
line
what's
up
gonna
all of
happen.
our stupid questions.
Yeah.
So talking about 30s, now that you've reached it, have you noticed any differences or any qualitative differences, or even how people treat you or anything?
No, back pain.
Is it-
I have back pain right now. I feel like as I've gotten older, probably the last 3 years, maybe I just haven't been as careful either, but I realize I get injured a lot more easily.
I think I noticed that after I was like 25. I was like, oh, I'm never jumping on a trampoline again. But that's
Yeah.
also because trauma, because my brother, like, his ankle went on the
On a
trampoline and he was like,
Oh.
8 years old.
Yeah,
Ever since then, I have trauma. Me and him have joint trauma.
yeah. I think mainly back pain.
But also, movies get loud for me. So I don't know when, like, I used to go to movies all the time. And then suddenly when I hit 22, it's like, wow, movies can be too loud sometimes.
Yes, sensory issues have become more prevalent. See, this is where I'm not sure if I'm just more sensitive to sounds now, or if I've been always sensitive. Now I just pay more attention to the fact that I'm sensitive and it irritates me.
Because technically, when you're younger, you can hear higher frequencies, right?
Yes.
So I don't know what the issue is now. Well, apart from the fact that I have tinnitus.
Yeah.
And I think you have like a more tinnitus as well, but more mild.
Milder, yes.
But that tinnitus comes with age, and
They say old people get grumpy, and I can understand why. I can
Yeah.
imagine myself
we
being an
are
old
both definitely way grumpier now than when we were
kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, when I was a very moody teenager, to be honest. My parents hated me. Or I wasn't like angry or anything. I was just like stone cold bitch now, but like less friendly. And you can imagine how that's not desirable to be around.
You don't understand. This is the second time we're shooting this episode, because yesterday he was like a grumpy ass bitch.
I was on my menopause. Is that what it's called? Period? Menopause?
No, menopause is what happens to people when they go when females go through that cycle of like not having their period anymore. So like late 40s, 50s. I mean, we are so uneducated about women's health things. Please do not judge us. But that's what menopause is.
All right. We enjoy how's 30 then? Do you enjoy being old?
I love it. So you only asked me about the like what, like, are people treating me differently, like the negative aspects. You haven't talked about all the positive aspects of being 30. Of which there are none. Yeah, it's just back pain. I feel like I've gotten wiser though. And the word wisdom, I don't think as a kid you understand what wisdom means.
That is true.
Wisdom is different from knowledge. As a kid, you think knowledge is wisdom.
Even though people tell you they're different, you don't understand.
Yes, you can't
you're too young.
conceptually grasp it. Exactly. Yeah.
That is true.
So I feel like I've gained more wisdom as the years have passed, and wisdom has particularly come through experiencing hardship. So going through difficult times, whether it's like trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, having to make a difficult decision, like whether to stay in my job or leave it, all of those things, usually hardship is what has made me wiser and able to give more opinions that are backed by personal experience rather than just opinions which are backed by random thoughts. Yeah.
So 30 is like the gay death, right? Where everyone calls it the gay death.
Is it? I
It's
feel
just
like
like a
it's
very
just the
common
death
thing.
of my body.
Or like, no, what do they call it? Twink death. Where
Twink death.
After 30, you're no longer a twink. It's the death of being a young, hairless little boy.
Yeah.
Like twink death. It's
Yes.
30.
Twink death.
How do you feel about that? Or how do you think about it now that you're 30?
the other day I was like, usually I like physical fitness wise, I've generally gone for like being leaner, but I feel like the other day I was like, it's actually, I don't think it's that hard to maintain, but it's not what I strive for anymore. So from a physical perspective, I'm like, yeah, I don't need to be like just lean anymore. But I'm also moving away just from like looking physically good to more general fitness. So incorporating more cardio rather than just weight training. And I think it's a shift in mindset from previously feeling like you needed to be accepted based on your physical looks to starting to care more about my general health, which is more a personal thing rather than being validated from external sources. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think it's also like you care less about what others think and you care more about your general happiness because you're like, oh wait, now that I'm older, actually, why does it matter that I used to care about everyone's opinion of me?
Yeah.
I'm just happy with myself. You need other people's validation less.
Yes.
Like the older you go.
Why do you think you need it more when you're younger?
I think it's part of like acceptance and feeling like you have a group, like being part of a group. Because especially if you're gay and young, you've grown up in a straight school, straight high school, straight university. You're never actually surrounded by a ton of gay people that make you feel accepted. It's only usually for people, it's when they're like 20s and above, they start surrounding themselves more and more with gay people, especially if they move to the city or like a different country. That's when you can start to have friends. And then imagine that period from 20 to 30, 10 years is when you're like trying to look for attention, acceptance, friends.
True.
And then usually maybe in my head, it's around after that. It's like, oh, okay, I'm satisfied now.
Yes.
Because straight people get that their entire lives. But gay people, you can
as a stereotype speaking.
Yeah.
Yes. But I think you're right. Growing up and having to come to terms with who you are and then having to, for some people, seek the acceptance of those around them, whether it's family or friends. And then when you kind of turn 18 or like the legal age to go out, party, club, you then start to find people who probably you form closer friendships with. They resonate with you more in terms of who they are, their identity. And then from that perspective, you feel the need to fit in because previously your whole life up to then you haven't really fitted in, right? And then as a result, I guess for like us as gay males, physical fitness is something that's quite important or like it's regarded quite highly in the community. That's probably why it's been important to us. But as we get older, it's like you've gone through that phase of, oh, now I've been accepted. And you have that feeling of acceptance. You're like, okay, what next? So it feels like an evolution. I think often it gets looked at as something that's quite toxic, which I can see. I can definitely see that element and how it's not healthy for some people, but also understanding the root of it and where it comes from and what we've just discussed, I think is so important that it's an evolution in a journey rather than just something that everyone says it's toxic and unhealthy. Like at the end of the day, part of it for me was validation, but also I used to have really bad physical health, a lot of muscle soreness. So going to the gym actually helped me to reduce that. Now these are like other unrelated things, but for a big part, it helped me to recover my physical health and actually start caring about it. And now that I'm shifting away from just a weight training to incorporate more cardio, it's like, oh, this journey has actually helped me as a whole to end up taking more care of my health rather than if I didn't go on this journey, I probably just still wouldn't be going to the gym. I'd be sitting at home doing nothing. So yeah, I think that's the positive side for me. I think in schools, there are a number of things that, at least when we went through the education system, that are left out. So financial education, relationship education, and then just like, how do you present yourself to others, form social connections and bonds and things like that. And that's all omitted. And that's something that we had to learn quite late in life ourselves without guidance. Yeah.
Do you feel like you would have done anything differently now that you're 12 years past, mature age, being an adult? Do you think you've used up all your time wisely?
I think like you, I'm not the type to regret, right? I look back at where I am, and the only reason I'm where I am now is because of all the experiences that have come before me. Like, from one perspective, being 30 now, I feel like I haven't achieved that much. But at the same time, I can take another perspective and be like, I've come so far from where I was when I was, say, 18, that I don't think I could have imagined my life now then. It's definitely not the life I imagined. And do I regret anything or where I am? Absolutely not. It's, like I said, all the hardships, challenges, the stress of different things, not knowing what I wanted to do, that's all led me to the point of now where I'm able to lead more of my own life, right? Previously, it's like identity crisis. Who am I? I'm raised by my parents in a certain way. Like growing up as the child of immigrant parents to Australia, I feel like there was an unspoken expectation that you would go and get a certain job, doctor, lawyer, accountant, engineer, because our parents worked so hard. They came to this country with nothing. And as a result, we needed to get secure jobs because from their perspective, they didn't want us to have
To
the
work
hardship.
as hard as they did.
Exactly. But I think what I slowly realized over time is that the hardships that they encountered were a purpose for them, gave them a direction to work in, to accrue wealth or to accrue stability, right? To the point now where they're like, that's what they see as success. So if we went and got a job, a very stable professional job, they're like, okay, my child has succeeded. But for us, having already have that core stability from what our parents built, going to just get that job would not give me the fulfillment that it would have given them in the sense of just having stability. So I want something that will allow me to grow beyond just working every day in and out and having income coming in. I want to do something that's purposeful, meaningful, that's going to change how people behave, because that to me is of more value than just having income coming in, because I've had that my whole life. Does that make sense? So from that regard, long answer to a, I guess, not so simple question, but it's about the fact that my past experiences have shaped who I am now and the journey that I have been on and am still on. Not necessarily in a negative way. You can see it as negative in one light if you want to, but I choose to see it in like a positive light, that I'm here now in a different place than I ever imagined because of everything that came before me. So I wouldn't change anything in that sense.
And that goes to like, either it's like bad financial decisions or, bad relationship decisions, or like all the exes. We're both the type to appreciate everything, especially the bad, because it makes you who you are today, and literally who we are today, we wouldn't change that.
Yes. Yeah. Correct.
That's like one thing that we both vibed on from the very beginning of
So
our
true.
relationship.
Yeah. Can I ask, what has been your favorite experience that we've had together since we got together as a couple?
Favorite enjoyable, or just like favorite in general?
Favorite experience, most memorable.
Most memorable.
Or like, yeah, if you had to pick a top experience, what would it be?
I think Burning Man, or the entire process, including Burning Man. So, we went overseas for like a month, which included Burning Man and the stuff before Burning Man.
Yep.
Yep.
There was some interesting things that
There
happened.
was some, and we went through like trauma together. And I feel that trauma brought us closer.
Yes.
And it showed us a different side of each other that we would not have seen unless that traumatic event happened.
Yes. And
So in a way, I'm slightly not grateful, but I can appreciate the traumatic experience
in hindsight,
because of what we managed to take out of it, the positive side in the end.
Guys, it was traumatic. It's
It was-
traumatic. But I think I actually had the same thought. For me, it was that the moment of like challenge that we both went through together, I think it showed us how much we cared about each other. And our top priority at that given point was each other.
Yep.
Above anything else.
Yeah.
And that definitely meant the experience at Burning Man later, going and doing things like naked oil wrestling together, which is something traditionally outside our comfort zone. We're like, why not? the trauma was something we experienced together, which meant that everything we experienced afterwards, I think you had a comparison point to the trauma, right? I like to say that if everything in your life was always good, you would never see the bad. That would mean you never understand what it meant to be happy, to be grateful, to be joyful, right? So the bad things in life, I think, are an anchor point for you, which you can learn and reflect on. And I think that is very true for our relationship, which meant that Burning Man was such a unique experience that we might not have appreciated in the same light had everything before not happened. Yeah.
I think it's like when some relationships don't work out because maybe like it's like too smooth sailing. I don't agree in testing the relationship as in actively doing stuff to test the relationship.
Yes, that sounds manipulative.
It's extremely manipulative. But the experience that we went through forced us to test the relationship, and we could see, you know, the different side and how we reacted to different environments, being in the same environment, how we both reacted.
Yes.
I very much appreciate that.
I love you.
I love you. Ever since meeting you, you are the cure to all my like problems and stress and worries.
What do you mean?
As in, you're the.
What do you mean I'm the cure? Elaborate more. Sorry.
So
he's giving me a compliment, guys. I'm gonna milk this for all it's worth. Sorry. Yes, please tell me more.
Yeah. So you're the cure to all my problems and stress and anxiety.
Bitch, you just said that same thing. Please elaborate beyond the words that you've just used.
And you're also the cause of it.
Oh.
There's your compliment.
This guy has like mood issues, and then he goes to me, look, he's very logical. Like you cannot fault the logic, but he goes, if you weren't here, even if I was moody, there'd be no one to see the moodiness. So that means the problem is you. See, without you here, the problem wouldn't exist because no one will be saying I'm moody because there's no one to experience the moodiness. So therefore, if I wasn't in this relationship, it would be fine. I'm like, damn, if I ever did get gaslighted, this is incredible. This is like 10 out of 10 gaslighting.
That's how good I am. And it makes sense logically.
It made so much sense, which is the problem.
The issue with me is that I like kind of gaslight myself as well because I think through things logically. I think a lot of the times when people say gaslighting, the gaslighting is like so obvious. It's like the dumbest excuse or the dumbest thing that doesn't make a reason. So it's easy to spot. But the issue for me is that I only gaslight when it's like logically makes sense to me. And then I'm like, oh, that makes sense to me. I'll convey it to you. And then it's only after a while I'm like, oh, wait, no, that's just gaslighting. I just gaslighted myself into believing that that was real.
If he ever gaslights himself and he realizes, I will go with it because it works.
That's how I get myself to do things. I just gaslight myself into thinking that, oh no, I need.
But you don't actually want to do it, and then you end up really tired and you can't be bothered doing it.
You just have to gaslight myself.
That doesn't sound healthy. I feel like you need to see a therapist.
You're my therapist.
That I am. I actually think I am your therapist. Do you how do you feel like you've
I think everyone's partner in a way is their partner's therapist. Because if you're not able to talk to each other about topics like this, like we're now, or even like I don't understand what's the point. Is that even a
But actually I think we are blessed with the ability to be so open with each other, which is not necessarily the case in many relationships. Like if I look at my parents, your parents, they definitely don't have these types of conversations, right? And I'm not sure if that's
we love you guys, but you guys fight a lot.
Yes,
and you
both
talk
of
about
you guys.
Breaking up and leaving the house a lot.
Yeah. The other day we were at my parents' house, and then my parents were having an argument, and then Peter was just in the room, and afterwards he goes to my mum, "Don't worry, my parents do this as well." And he's like, "Deja vu."
Yeah, your mum was like, "Oh, your dad threatened that she should leave or something."
This is very common.
And then like
they both
literally
keep doing this.
Last holiday when we were in Vietnam, my parents were having like a massive argument. I had to like go down and like talk to them as well. Like
as a child, you become the mediator. We do have therapy experience for our parents, but like
that was actually my first time.
Oh, really?
Doing it.
That's not my first time.
That's why it was really weird for them, because it's usually a private thing, just them two.
yes.
And then it's weird when their kid comes and is like, hey, let's talk about the issue you guys are having. It's very, because yeah, that's why it took so long for me to talk to them, because they were just like, they have no idea what's happening. Why is my kid talking to me about,
Yeah.
I'm
my
so
problems.
embarrassed about my issues with.
Yes. I think the thing for them is they've also been used to dealing with it
by
without
themselves.
logic and like quite emotionally for the last however 30 40 years of their relationship. They don't really know how to approach the problem in a way that drives it to resolution. It feels like for my parents the issue's just they just sweep it under the rug. They just keep sweeping it under the rug, and that's very common. So even trying to sit down with them and be like, look, you guys need to work on this issue together. It doesn't matter what each of you wants. I think they were arguing about cutting down, whether to cut down a tree or not. Dad was like, the tree blocks the neighbor's window, so they have more privacy. And mum was like, the tree drops so many of these like ugly ass leaves. I want to stop it. I have to keep sweeping it up. It's so much effort, right? It didn't really matter whether the tree got cut down or not. It's like they needed to arrive at a solution together, but they couldn't. They just kept both throwing their arguments at each other. And then a lot of it's like, if you want to deal with it, you deal with it then. Which is like pushing the issue away, which I think we've recognized early on in our relationship. Pushing the issue away doesn't help either of you because it leaves the burden on one person, which leaves the issue unresolved. Whereas you need to try and work towards it together and trying to get to them to understand that concept of it doesn't matter what the solution is. You just both need to arrive on it together. You guys need to work as a team. I think the whole relationship they've had, they've never approached issues in that way. So it's been so, so difficult. And like, I don't think I even got through to them at the end, but to understand that concept.
We never do.
Yeah. What can you do? What can you do? We can just preach about it and hope someone else learns a
It's just
lesson.
one step closer, I think, every time is my goal.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a story for you, and I just want to see what you think about it. So yesterday I went out with my friends for birthday dinner. One of them's dating a new guy, and she went overseas for a holiday. And so she just started dating the guy, and while she was overseas on holiday was her birthday. So when she came back, the guy picked her up from the airport and everything, and then didn't celebrate her birthday for her. Didn't buy her a gift. What do you think?
Oh, they just started dating, right?
They've been dating for like 4 months.
I think if it was, I don't think it. This is difficult. I think if it
What's
was
your
us,
initial response?
If it was us, what would we have done? Right? In our first 4 months, would I have done something? How soon was it? Close? Was it like 3 weeks? You said, right? Afterwards or something?
3 weeks after, it was quite long afterwards. Yeah,
That's pretty long. Not gonna lie. Like doing a video call and saying happy birthday is like as much as it gets.
Yeah.
I'm not very a celebratory person. I think you know that. I think that's like we have that in common.
Yes.
We don't really care about birthdays. We don't care about Valentine's Day. If anything, we force ourselves to do something because we're like, we literally don't even know.
Not Valentine's Day. This is too commercialized. Valentine's Day is a trap.
The 2 weeks before Valentine's Day.
The restaurants take forever to serve the food. Everything's expensive. Boycott Valentine's Day. It's not about love. It's about money.
No, do it the week or 2 weeks before is the best time.
That's true. Or you can just find a time that suits you throughout the year.
Yeah, we're not date or holiday or we literally don't even know our anniversary date.
We don't have an official.
We literally do not even know. And I think most of the time, the guys usually don't care. I think from what I've read online, all guys just usually don't care.
Yes.
It's mostly the girls who care. And I think this is where the communication comes into play, where the girl should be, okay, I'm upset. I wanted or expected something, but it didn't happen. So how can I communicate my needs to you?
Yes.
Hey, this made me upset. I know I didn't communicate it to you. Is there a reason why you didn't plan something? Did you feel like it wasn't that important, or did you feel that I didn't care? How about next time, you do something, because I do like to be surprised, or I like to feel valued.
Yeah.
Is how I would approach the issue.
Yes. Which I think the issue, this makes complete logical sense to me because that's my approach as well. But speaking to my friend, I could tell, and I think I used to be like this. You don't want to have to say something because it feels almost less special if you have to ask the other person to do something. But with time, I've realized that people are so different. You can't expect someone to know what you want. And even with time, I've gradually realized if I want something to happen, I need to tell you. It's my birthday. I want you to take me out for a nice dinner and buy me something. And it takes a while to move past that idea of if they don't come up with it by themselves, it's not special. I think you need to start to appreciate the fact that they're doing it because you told them and they recognize that's what you need, that's how it works sometimes. And you can't just expect people to know what to do on the basis that that's what you expect without you saying anything.
We actually do it, or maybe I do it, like pretty common. It's pretty often sometimes that I'm like, I say something and I just expect you to know what I mean and know, like basically read my mind. And like, imagine how unfair that is. That I expect you to be able to read my mind. That just makes zero sense. And to me, that's what's happening now.
What I've been waiting to hear for 2 years.
That's how I see this current scenario. It's basically expecting them to read your mind. And it's literally still up to you. Maybe you want someone who's on the same wavelength as you without communicating that your
Yes,
needs.
correct.
Which is fine. Just do not expect everyone to have the ability to read your mind and be on the same wavelength.
Yes.
If you don't want to communicate.
Yeah. I think the difficult thing with relationships boils down to expectations. Everyone has different expectations of like how you will live together, how you'll be treated on birthdays, how will you treat me when you wake up in the morning. It's all about expectation, right? And at the end of the day, I think it takes a certain amount of communication to set those expectations and align them, right? And what it comes down to is, do you have the energy to work with that person that you found to align those expectations? And sometimes it's too much, and that's where there's a lot of conflict, which leads to breakups, which aren't necessarily a bad thing. And then other times you might have two people who like just click together because the expectations are so aligned that minimal communication is needed. For us, I don't think we were actually that suited for each other if we weren't the type to communicate. But because we are able to communicate so openly and the frequency of our communication is like high, that's what has allowed us to become closer and like work this out for like the long term. Does that make sense? Because some people just don't have the energy to communicate and just don't feel the need to do it.
I think this is mostly, I don't know how far I should generalize this, but because at the beginning, in the first, let's say 2 months of dating, we would say that we fit each other pretty well. Like we had very similar upbringings. We just like clicked in terms of like mindset, in terms of values, in terms of literally everything.
Yeah.
We both would have said, yes, we click with this person like so well. We're basically a clone.
Yes.
And it's only after 2 years of living with each other, of going through so many things that we're like, actually, we're pretty different people. And I cannot imagine someone who's actually closer to me than you, though, in terms of everything else.
That's true. That's true.
So I think this is where I don't know how far I should generalize it. If I suspect everyone is the same, because when you first meet someone, you only see the similarities or stuff that you like about them, right? And it's only after spending more time that you realize, oh no, they're actually a completely different person than a clone.
Yeah.
So I suspect all relationships need communication. I don't expect there to be any that are like, truly happy in this type of relationship where you don't talk at all.
It's
Yeah.
The one characteristic that I liked about you most is like your willingness to talk. Consistently, you're open to talking and trying to fix things, which is not the same for everyone from my experience. So that is the trait that I kind of honed in on. That was really important for me, but it took me so long to realize that that's the trait that I cared about the most. Yeah.
Basically, like the communication skills, which you don't really like how to communicate in a relationship. It's very difficult to learn. And this is why most first relationships fail, is because you literally don't know how to communicate with someone your age living with you 24/7. It's extremely difficult.
Yes. You're not used to it.
Yeah.
When you two people move in together new, there's so much that happens, right? You've probably never lived with someone. Someone hasn't shared your space. You don't have to share a toilet, the same sink.
Literally the
someone.
same bed. Yeah.
So it's very different. And then it's not just like a housemate anymore. There's like expectations of like what the relationship looks like, how to give love, how to receive love, which is a lot more complicated than just having a housemate. I have not necessarily a quote, but this is from the Dalai Lama. When asked what surprised him most about humanity, the Dalai Lama responded, "Man, he sacrifices his health in order to make money. Then he sacrifices his money in order to recuperate his health." What do you think about this?
You first.
So, a friend said to me the other day that we have a lot of successful friends, but a lot of them have like a lot of health issues. If it's not physical, it's like mental health issues. A lot of stress that they have to deal with, anxiety, things like that. And then I saw this quote and I'm like, maybe there's some truth to it. We work so hard to try and make money, to be successful. It's not just make money, but to achieve success, that we sacrifice a lot of our sanity, our health, put additional stress on ourselves. And then for a lot of them, like I consider have made it, you then spend money to try and relax, recuperate. I think I've told you this before. So there's a fisherman in this village. He has one boat. He goes out during the day, catches a few fish. He comes back in the evening, cooks the fish, eats, and then he watches the sunset with his wife and his kids. Okay, with his family. We've got to be more gender diverse.
With his Republican Democrat husband and his adopted
surrogate
kid.
child.
Adopted, not surrogate. Can't be surrogate.
Okay, adopted. Okay, let me continue. Then this person from a big corporation sees him and goes, "Hey, you catch only a few fish. Why don't you work a bit harder, go out fish a bit longer, come back a little later, you can sell the additional fish that you've bought, and then eventually what you can do, you buy another boat. You can hire someone and then send them out and they can go get fish for you. You'll make even more money, and then soon you'll have a fleet of boats. You'll be catching lots of fish, you'll be selling it to make lots of money, and then you can finally retire." Then the fisherman goes to the person from the corporation, "Then what would I do? What would my day look like? Would I go out during the day, catch a few fish just for my family, come back, cook it, eat it, and then spend the sunset watching it with my wife or my democratic husband and adopted kid?" And like the moral of that story is we work so hard sometimes towards a goal, but for what reason we don't really see. And for a lot of people, it's like maybe achieving that success is what they need, but for someone else, the happiness of having a simple life is enough.
What's that triangle? I think I've forgotten what it's called. I think it's like
I saw this before. It's time, energy, money. There's three. You can only pick two. So when you're young, you generally have time and energy. When you start working in your 30s or 40s, you have money and energy, but no time because you're working. And then lastly, when you get old, you have time and money, but you have no energy.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And people do whatever they want at any point in their times because on their values they have at the time, whether that is money or their values are health. So the reason why people work so much and to the detriment of their health is because they want the money in order to improve their lives.
Yes,
right?
correct.
Just they have made the decision at that point in their life that working, like maintaining my health, but earning little money is not worth it.
Correct.
They make that decision actively.
Yes.
Like people aren't stupid.
Yes.
They actively make the decision. That's why they work 12 hours a day because they're like, I want the money to have a better life for myself because right now, even if I work 8 hours a day and I'm healthy, that's not what I don't want to. I would rather detriment my health.
Yes.
So that's what I think of the Dalai Lama's quotes on they choose money and then they choose health later. Because everyone's values at any point in their life is different.
Yes, agreed.
And the reason they're actually even able to choose health, maybe they weren't even, because there's no guarantee that if you worked 8 hours a day, especially with like, healthcare in the US, you can't even afford health, even if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Unless you worked to get that money.
Yes. Yes. So I think your point is what that quote in its isolation forgets to recognize is there's a reality of life and that people's values and priorities can shift, right? And at any given time, what is important to you changes. And that's not actually a bad thing or a good thing. It's just part of life.
It's just the cycle of life. It just changes.
I think you as a person, you're quite a simple person. You don't expect much. You just kind of cruise.
I'm a very much live life as it comes, take life as it comes, live it as it goes.
Yes.
I don't care about the past. I don't care about the future. I'm just riding on the wave how it is now.
But
don't
do you feel
overthink things.
This is also what you try to tell yourself, right? Because sometimes I can see you get very stressed. And then I'll ask you, are you stressed? You're like, I'm not stressed. And you're thinking in your head, if I tell him I'm not stressed, that's me telling myself I'm not stressed. So that means I'm not stressed. But in fact, actual fact, you could be stressed. I feel like you've done this before.
Or are you gaslighting myself? Trying to gaslight me and trying to implement your beliefs on me and trying to force your beliefs on me.
But you've told me this before. Like you will look visibly stressed.
But if you don't acknowledge that you're stressed and be like, okay, it's like when you're anxious about something and you want to stop that anxiety, you don't think, I'm anxious.
Yes.
You think, no, it's okay. I'm calm.
So it's more of a strategy for you to
I think that's
manage your stress.
That's the difference.
Interesting. Do you find it works
Part of it, I agree, is not being aware. Because I told you that one time I was having anxiety and I didn't realize what the symptom was, which is like the heart palpitations, which is like a moderate to high level of anxiety. Yes. And I was like, oh, I had anxiety at one point in my life. Yeah. I just literally did not have any of the other symptoms before it.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just like physiological. But I do think that if you think something, you can manifest. It's like placebo. If you always think that you're stressed, you're never going to be free from it. You're trapped in your own mind.
That's true.
I think that's the difference for me.
Yeah.
And that's why I agree with you, but I also mostly disagree.
Yes.
Because you can't change your mind if you're trapped in it. And you're not looking for a way out. You're just focused on being trapped.
Yeah. But I think what you are describing is different to what people might perceive as avoidance. I don't think this is necessarily avoidance. It's like you're trying to train your brain to conceptually think a different way rather than just sweeping it under the rug. It's not like, no, we're not having a fight. Like, yes, we're still having a fight, but rather it's more, we're having a fight and it's okay to have the fight. Let's work through it. That's, I think, the closest analogy I can think of for what you're saying.
Oh, it's like we're having a fight and I'm feeling agitated, but I'll tell myself, it's okay, calm down. We're having a fight, that's fine, but I don't need to raise my voice, right? Yeah. Just because I'm angry or upset doesn't mean I have to raise my voice. I need to be calm.
Yeah.
Or I'm stressed right now. I need to talk or have this conversation, even though I'm angry, to be calm and take it from a perspective as if I am calm, because that's more productive. Yeah.
So like when our car got towed, rather than being like, I'm super stressed that the car got towed, you're saying,
I calmed myself down and
the car got towed, that's okay. I don't necessarily need to be super stressed about it, which is like your body's response to the situation.
Like I can acknowledge that, oh, there's going to be a big fine, and that can make me feel anxious, but focusing on that gets you nowhere. It's like, okay, once I calm myself down, I'm like, okay, what's the next steps? What do I need to do now?
Yeah.
That's how I approach things.
So if we get homophobic comments, there's a new way we can deal with it. I saw someone do this online, but pretty much you just reply on their comment, oh my goodness, haven't I seen you on Grindr? And then you go to their profile and you find things that they've posted and you just keep posting that. How savage is that?
God, that is petty to the next level. I love it. I love that.
Which
is-
I can't even explain the psychology behind it. I don't understand it, but it's just so petty. It's good
I love
because
it.
you're not trying to call them out for their behavior.
It's like slight bullying. It's still cyberbullying, but it's like petty.
Fight
And
fire
they
with
started
fire.
first. Actually, we used to be very affected by these negative hate comments.
Mm.
That was when we read every single comment.
I still read every single comment. You were the one who negatively affected my mojo. I still read the comments
This
now
is why
because you don't read it.
I only
doesn't
read
know.
comments from like members on YouTube and stuff.
Oh,
I don't look at like everyone's.
I still read all the comments. There is less negative comments now, I would say.
Or is it because they get drowned out?
No, I still read through most of the comments. Last time there's definitely more. There are still some. I think I'm less affected by it now when I adopted the mentality that someone's going to hate it regardless. Someone's going to hate something regardless of what you do. The other day I went to the supermarket. You weren't there, but this old lady was like becoming really agitated and rude that there were no trolleys. And the staff were like super busy. They tried to explain to her, oh, someone is contracted to come in, but they don't start until X o'clock. And she was still being super pissy about it. I'm like, regardless of what you post, someone's going to be upset about it. It doesn't matter. The stuff that you've talked about, like getting cancelled and stuff, how does that tie in your mind to all of this?
We are generally, there's not many things that we would say that would cancel us as part of our personality by default.
Yeah.
Like we don't hate a religion or anything and wouldn't say anything disgustingly negative about it that would lead to the hate.
That's true.
Like literally, even if we say that we're atheists, there'll be people who spout, religious stuff at us in the comments. And we're not going to take that down, but we're still going to get negative comments from it.
So how do you draw the line between like when talking about...
If I think I'm fine and I'm correct, I will not take it down. This is about just like where you think you are and how your morals align with just general society. Society can make that decision. I'm confident that I am kind to everyone.
Yeah. So I think this is like a personal judgment thing, right?
And if people hate me, that's on them. I'm sure like, all of the racists think that they're like kind to everyone. And then society will just tell them where their place is. And that's fine.
That's true.
Don't think too much about it. This is part of if you always think about what people think of you from literally every single angle, you're never going to get anywhere. So I just focus on just making, like you said, just like as long as you live your life and don't actively offend people and just try to be a nice person, like that's all society asks of you.
Yes, correct. But what is being a nice person and when are you...
Yeah, I know, because a lot of the extremists think they're nice people.
Yes, so I think it's a very blurred line between what is acceptable and what is not, but it just ends up coming down to personal judgment. I have one last joke for you. Hi, my name's Tekky. What's your name?
Peter?
Oh, I thought your name was Google. Because you're everything I've been searching for.
Everything you've been searching for.
I have 5 friends. They're all your different moods.
Bitch. What?
Is it not true though?
You're going to get 5 different slaps to the face later then.
But from your 5 different moods?
Yes. One from every mood. Is that what you want? Is that what you want?
I think that was my best joke today.
You're dead to me.
I love you.
You're dead to me.
But I take care of all your 5 moods.
Stop talking about the 5 moods.
And I help you transition between them. I'm like, okay, Moody, it's time to sit down. We need to get Hungry some food. Because Hungry is now sleepy.
It's like Inside Out, where I've like the 5 emotions, right? The 5 moods controlling my brain. You're like, is that Joy? Joy, are you up in there?
No, literally. You joke about this.
Control again.
You joke about this, but this is like what it's like living with you. Okay, that's a wrap. Thank you for coming to this episode of Can I Ask? We'll see you next time on Cheese TV. Is it Cheese TV or Toasted TV?
It was toasted and it was cheese.
Vegemite TV. We should call this segment
TV.
Vegemite TV.
Vegemite TV.
Thanks for watching to the end of this video, guys. We hope you enjoyed it. He forgot his line. If there's anything you guys want us to talk about, please leave it in the comments
That's
below.
too long.